Hi, this is Pete George on Game Changers with Vicki Abelson. Our special guest tonight is Fred Willard.
Yay!
Thank you.
Fred, thank you so much for having us to your house.
Oh, well, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited, Fred, because I've known you for, I feel like I've known you for about 8 years, and I see you at Phil Rosenthal's house for pizza and movie night.
He's always got a very interesting crowd there. You never know who's going to be there.
It's a very interesting crowd. Like, have you met people that you were excited to meet there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and you know, people I used to work with, people who I admire. Yeah, he's limitless. Everyone wants to come to his screenings.
It did, and
the Rosenthal Theater.
That's right, and I used to get to go every single Sunday, but he's too popular now. Now I'm lucky if I go once every 2 months.
Yeah,
I'm like on the low end of that list.
Oh yeah.
You still going all the time?
I get invited every so often. Yeah.
It's fun. I usually see you there. I think we're on the same list.
No, maybe.
And I've met so many interesting. I met Russell Brand there. That was a wild.
Oh dear.
And Harry Connick Jr. Some like way out there.
Oh.
But Carl Reiner, and I got to meet you. That was the best thing.
Oh.
And as I told you then, Fernwood tonight, arguably, not arguably for me.
Yeah, a couple of the writers I knew from the days of Fernwood Tonight. And who's the famous bass player, the young guy?
Who? The bass player.
Myers. Anyway, used to date Taylor Swift.
Oh, John Mayer?
John Mayer was there once. I had a very nice conversation with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to that one.
Norman Lear is there occasionally.
Yes, Norman's there, and our friend Phil just was nominated for an Emmy Award yesterday.
That's wonderful. He does some amazing shows, and I always told him we should not have eaten before we go to a screening. He should feed us after the screening because they're all about food, and he makes everything look delicious.
He does make everything look delicious, and he's also an investor in Mozza Pizza, so we eat Mozza Pizza before the movie, which is always fun. And then Fred is the best partaker of my brownies, which is always
I always look for those brownies. And Phil, not only the food is interesting, but he visits such interesting places.
He does.
He'll go to Vietnam, to Korea, and
Have you gone to any of the restaurants that Phil recommends, like in L.A.?
I haven't seen any that he recommends. The show I liked the most was when he shot it in New York, because everyone who was there at one time lived in New York and was, I know where that place is. That's because otherwise you're seeing a restaurant in Russia or Vietnam, and they're all such beautiful countries, and the people are so friendly and so nice.
And especially with Phil, because he's great with that.
Yeah.
My favorite was the one in Italy. I loved that one. And I wanted to jump in there and eat everything they were eating. That was amazing. So Fred, I started to say that for me, and you were on Everybody Loves Raymond, which is your connection to Phil.
Phil, yes.
Was that a fun show to work on?
Oh, it was a wonderful show to work on. You became part of the family, even though you weren't there every week. They were all... you'd show up and it was just, hi, we're so glad you're here. So you didn't really feel like the new kid in school every week.
That's really nice. It was really sad that Georgia left recently.
Yes. And Peter Boyle. I was a friend of Peter on and off for years.
I was going to say, did you know him back in the day?
I did know him before he even did Joe, before he played...
How did you meet Peter?
I don't know, I forget how, but he was at my daughter's christening.
Wow.
And it was Peter Boyle, you know. I think we both had been members of Second City in Chicago.
I was going to ask if he was an improviser.
Yeah.
So let's go to that. So your background is in improvisations. Right before we went on the air, you were saying that when you were a kid, you didn't want to be an actor. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I think I wanted to be a baseball player, or that's what really interested me.
Did you play in school?
I played in school. I played in high school. I played in college. I played in the Army 1 year. So that, and then I got to play on a celebrity softball team, which got it all out of my system. Finally, we played at Fenway Park in Boston.
Oh, come on!
Yeah, we played.
What position did you play?
First base or right field.
So you're good then.
Yeah. But I played with Mark Harmon,
Yeah.
and everyone who's, they'd come and go. Everyone wanted to be on the team.
Did you win?
I forget.
Yeah. Was it fun?
The guy who ran it was very intense on us winning, but the rest of us were just playing for fun. And Mark Harmon said something very interesting one day. He says, it's good when we lose, when we're playing. You play in a city, you play against the local sports personalities or news people, or and so it's not good to always beat them. If you lose, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's a good
But
attitude.
the guy who organized the team would, you got to.
He was competitive, huh?
Yeah.
So did you get hits when you were doing that?
Yeah, I was a big singles hitter. I remember the first time I was going to Dallas, Texas, to play in a tennis tournament, and I knew about it. It was called the Hollywood All Stars, and they all got on the same plane as me. And I said, "God, I'd love to be in that on the team." They said, "Oh, well, we'll think about you." And I don't know why. I think I had my glove with me, and I said, "Well, keep me in mind." So we played in the tennis tournament, and that night they called me and said, "Fred, would you like to play?" One of the guys has dropped out. I said, "Sure." So I went over. They gave me a jersey, and first time up, I got a nice base hit. I was never a home run hitter. So at the end of the game, the guy who organized it said, "Come on, we're having a team photo." And I said, "Well, I'm not really a member of the team." He said, "Well, you are now." And I was so thrilled. It was like the Cleveland Indians that
drafted you.
Yeah. So I got to play in a lot of games and met a lot of sports celebrities.
Well, that's really fun. Do you have a sports hero?
Well, yeah, that I never met. One was Ted Williams, of course, when I was a kid.
Were you always a Dodger? Were you a Dodger fan, or
no? I was a Cleveland Indians fan because I was born and raised in Cleveland.
But now, a Dodger fan?
Well, you can't help but be, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, but I still root for the Cleveland Indians. And the All-Star game this year was in Cleveland.
And we have Pete George back there, who's also a Cleveland.
Yeah.
Come here and say, Pete's got a big gig coming up this week that he's got to tell everybody about. Pete George, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Fellow Clevelandites.
Yeah.
Fred's from. So.
Where am I?
Where are you this weekend?
I will be headlining the Grand Hotel in downtown Las Vegas next Wednesday through Sunday. 5 shows.
That's excellent.
Wow.
So were you a Cleveland Indians fan?
Yeah, I still am. Yeah, my family went to the All-Star game and they said it was amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they went to the the home run derby too.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Right? Yeah. Next time.
Next time. All right.
It's every young man's dream, it being that home run derby.
Right.
And
did you ever get to do that?
I'd love to. I was never a home run hitter. I could.
Yeah.
No.
Reggie Jackson was my hero. He was a home run hitter.
Yeah, he was a big hitter.
He was a great home run hitter.
Yeah.
So Ted Williams,
I'm
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Pete, if you have questions for Fred, which I know that you do because I'm already looking, there's all kinds of people already saying hi to you, Fred.
Oh.
So we're gonna see if I can get that thing going. But there's all kinds of people saying hi. It's giving.
Oh, that's nice.
It's doing weird things. So. So Danny McDermott says, love Fred. I know Danny. Danny's a comic in New York. We're just going to say some hellos here while we can. Sharon Daniels says hi. Sharon is an impressionist. She does an incredible Joan Rivers, and she's pretty amazing. Hi, John Myers. I know you have a question. Hi, Pam. Hi, Scott. Scott Kranz said he met you and your wife at the Mark Twain Awards
in Washington, D.C.
And Scott's an old friend of mine. We used to do clubs together in New York.
Whose award was it? I was back for several of them.
Mark Twain.
No, but
whose award? Oh, Scott, tell us.
I was there for Bob Newhart's, and I want to think Jonathan Winters, but he was just
really.
I was there for several years. Yeah,
that's really cool.
I seem to have met Bob Newhart. I was on his show, the Newhart show, and because I auditioned, it's for one of the first shows I got. The part called for someone from Cleveland who lived in Cleveland, and they couldn't understand how he had a year-round suntan living in Cleveland. So I said, "Damn it, I should get this part. I'm from Cleveland." And I auditioned and got the part. And for some reason, Bob Newhart, he's a wonderful gentleman, and I got to know him, and he invited me when he got the Mark Twain Award to fly to Washington, and they put us up in the hotel. I remember the Smothers Brothers were there, and for the whole weekend he'd take us out for drinks and wouldn't let us pay for a thing. And he kept saying, "Thank you so much for coming and doing this." and it was such a thrill to be there. He's a great.
You had to audition, so that had to be early in your career.
Yes, it was pretty early. But I went in and read and got it, and I played a very egotistical guy, and I watch it now, and I can't stand myself. I can't stand my character.
Yeah, but you're so great when you do that stuff because even when you play jerks, you're so lovable. Because you're always lovable. That's just who you are. Peter Onorati is watching. Peter's a wonderful actor. And he says that you are brilliant.
Well, that's very nice.
And hi, Peter. Candy Clark. Do you know Candy?
Sure, from
American Graffiti.
Sure.
Yes, Candy. Hi, Candy. And Peter says congrats on the Grand Hotel gig.
I hope people don't go to Vegas to see Fred Willard.
Oh, he's talking to George, to Pete. I mean, I'm like getting.
Pete, that's very exciting to be in Vegas. There, downtown.
Yeah, beautiful hotel. Yeah, I'm looking forward. My first time there. I've done Planet Hollywood and a few other casinos, but yeah.
He's the rock and roll comedian, for those of you who don't know. Valerie Berwinger, you were talking about Disney. So does Valerie still work at Disney? I don't know, but I think she does. But Fred's grandson wants to work at Disney, so maybe we can hook him up. Yeah. All right, maybe we can hook him up. I think we have somebody we can hook him up with. All right, so Pete, you'll do that with us later. So let's go back to this. So you didn't want to be an actor. You wanted to be a baseball player. You were on track for that. You played college ball. Yes. So why did that get derailed?
Well, I just wasn't really that good. I was fairly good.
You were fairly good.
But
what'd you play in college?
What position?
Yeah.
Well, I got to play shortstop.
Wow.
One season because our regular shortstop got a kidney stone or something, and he didn't show up. And
you're kind of tall to be a shortstop.
Well, it was a thrill. I played all positions, and I played the outfield. I played first base. It was just one of those things I always had a dream of being. Almost every kid does.
It's the American dream.
Yeah.
So how did you end up? How did you get to improvisation? How did that happen? Did you do school plays when you were a kid?
No. But I got out of when I got out of the Army.
Yeah.
I went to New York and I said I wanted to either be a disc jockey or then I said I might be an actor, and I started going around to different acting schools to see what they did, and then they all had sense memory and this and that, and none of it interested me. And I finally found one called Showcase Theater, and I went in. And they said, "Well, what we do is you prepare a scene, and every 10 weeks we invite professional people, people, industry people to come to see it." And I said, "Boy, that's what I want to do. All I got to do is memorize lines and do the scenes, and that's the best way to learn, I think." Just to get on stage and memorize a scene and do it, you can tell if you're doing well or not doing well.
Did anybody teach you anything invaluable? Did you have any guidance when you were, or was it all innate and it just?
You just did it. Our teachers were very. There was a husband and wife team, very counterproductive. They were frustrated actors themselves, so it was difficult. But anyway, I got to be friendly with another guy there in the class. We seemed to have the same sense of humor. And one time we saw an ad in the some show business paper, actors wanted for a comedy sketch review. So we went down and they were meeting on one night, and we went in, and the guy, he says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Well, your ad said you needed actors for a sketch review." They said, "Do you have your own material?" And we said, "No." He said, "Well, come back when you have a couple sketches of your own." So every week we'd write a sketch, and we'd go in and do it for them. And eventually he said, "You guys are very good. I think we're going to forget our comedy review and just do a night of your material."
Wow.
And so we did it, and then we got an agent, we got a manager, slowly but surely. When funny stories like going into a guy who, I think was a manager or a producer or something, and he said, "All right, let me see one of your sketches." So we started to do a sketch, and halfway through it, he got up and he started to walk out of the room. He says, "Keep going." So we kept going for about 30 seconds, and we finally said, "This is ridiculous. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're talking to ourselves." And they came back, oh, sorry, yeah, where were we? But so every actor, every comedian has a story like that. So anyway, we started to get jobs, local jobs in the mountains.
And it's just the two of you?
Just two of us. We did sketches. And it seems that we worked... At the time, there were just coffee houses. It wasn't like a big comedy tour like today. Every city has...
Wait, let me just stop you for a second. How much of that sketch was scripted, and how much of it were you...
Well, we never scripted anything. Okay. I wrote most of the stuff, and we'd rehearse it. And we did very little improvisation, but we got a pretty good following. We would play, the most important thing, we played a couple of clubs in Chicago, and the Hungry Eye in San Francisco. And so then we finally, we broke up finally, and my agent called and he said they're casting for people to come to Chicago to be in Second City. And they'd like to see you. And I said, oh, I can't do that. I'd seen Second City, the original, when they came to Broadway. I said, they're all so intelligent. They do things about psychiatry and about historical things. He said, well, just come in and meet. So he was with William Morris, and they a couple of the producer and the owner of the club were there. And Robert Klein was one of the other actors auditioning. And... I got up, they put two of us up and they give us a subject. And for some reason I got some very easy things and I did very well. And by the time like an hour and a half was up, they said, all right, we have time for one more. I put my hand up, I'd like to do it. Suddenly I was into it.
Nice.
So they interviewed us one at a time afterwards. They said, well, we'd like you to come to Chicago. And of course I had other irons in the fire. I said, well, I don't know. I'm working on this and I'm working on that.
Like what are the things that were so exciting?
Well, I was working with another comic to do an act, but just to pick up from New York and go to Chicago.
Yeah.
For 6 months they wanted you to.
Wow.
And they said, well, we'll keep a place open for you for about a week, but then we have to know. I said, oh, okay. So I got back to where I was living and I called a friend of mine who owned a bookstore in Chicago, who I thought very highly of. She was very bright. There's a bookstore in Chicago called Barbara's Bookstore. Her name, she was the Barbara.
She was the Barbara.
And I called her and I said, is Second City still hip? And she said, oh yeah, it's very hot. So begrudgingly I called, I said, okay, I'll come to Chicago. So I went with Robert Klein. We had a whole new company.
Was David Steinberg in your company
David
too?
had been, but he was in London they moved the whole company to London. So we got there and we were open up and we did, our first show was old Second City material, which I loved. So bright. It was so bright. Then the company, the London company came back and David joined our group. And so it was David Steinberg, Robert Klein, myself, another actor and two wonderful women. And at the end of 6 months, they asked me if I wanted to stay another 6. And I said, oh, geez. But now I was into it. So at the time we were getting, I think, $150 a week. And that was pretty good.
And were you guys writing sketches as well?
Yes, then we were writing stuff. So it was our own material in the show.
So were you writing with like Robert and David and?
Well, what we would do an improv in the show, and if it seemed to go well, then we'd work on it a little. And to this day, when I go to Second City and I see their sketches, I can't believe some of them came from improvisations. It all seems so much sharper and wonderful. So anyway, I stayed another 6 months. And I asked our director, I said, should I have asked for more money? And he said, no. I said, okay, that's all I want to know. So that's how I got started. Then I came back to L.A. and...
How did Ace Trucking Company start?
Well, right after that, Second City, someone called me and said, look, we're opening up I'm starting a sketch group. And we're going to get up at the bitter end.
Oh, God.
And I said, well, I just came from Second City and I still have some sketch ideas. That might be fun. So we get up after the regular show and work on it. And we did very well. There was some very funny guys. And
in those days, at the bitter end, Woody Allen was doing stand-up. And
I never saw him, but I seem to remember Neil Diamond getting up.
Wow.
Doing a show. And we did very well. And the manager who managed Dave Fry, who was very hot at the time, came down. He wanted to sign us. And then someone from The Tonight Show saw us. And we didn't even have a name then. And I said, well, we got to have a name. What do we... Well, Laugh-In was popular. That is, why don't you call yourself Laugh Out? Well, that didn't strike us too. And people came up with dumb names. And one of the guys in our group was doing an improv, he was a man on the street interview. He says, I worked for the Ace Trucking Company in Brooklyn. We thought that was so funny that in every city there'd be an Ace typewriter company, an Ace. So we call ourselves the Ace Trucking Company.
That's a crazy name, but it totally worked for you guys.
Yeah. So we started getting jobs. Our first job was on The Tonight Show. And then we did the...
What was that? How was Johnny with you? How was it to be...
Well, one guy in our group was, you probably remember the most memorable group, was Raymond J. Johnson. You doesn't have to call me Ray, right. You can call me Jay. And for some reason...
Johnny imitated that a lot.
Oh, yeah. They, the band leader...
Skitch Henderson. No. Oh, my God, after him. Doc Severinsen. Right.
Just took a loving to his name was Billy Saluga, our actor. So I think that's why, and Johnny Carson loved us, and he'd repeat some of our catchphrases. So we did about 90 Tonight Shows. I remember one time we did 2 in 1 week because we were on with Mama Cass, when she sat in for Johnny Carson. We also did it with Johnny, so twice in 1 week.
Wow.
And they would we would do a rehearsal, and they would build props for us. We did something about a couple of gang members coming into a shoe store to just buy shoes. They built a shoe store set for us. So then we'd go out on the road and do it. We didn't have a set, but still the audience had seen us on The Tonight Show. And so we did very well. But eventually we had a very heavy set guy, George Terry. And he was, I made, all of them made me laugh. We would have so much fun. And he got a role in the Marty Scorsese movie.
Oh, wow.
And then he had an accident in one of the movies where he was supposed to be geared up to a harness and someone was supposed to shoot him. They were supposed to pull him back. And what happened, there was a lot of slack left in the harness, and he went back and he got a very bad head injury. And he was never quite the same after that. One of the guys went to visit him in the hospital, and he was writing. They said, what are you doing, George? He said, I'm writing a sketch. And what he was doing is just copying something out of Time magazine. Then he became very difficult to work with, so we had to get a replacement. And then the lead of the group got involved in writing a movie. I forget what it was. It was all sketches, and that was very popular.
Like a Putney Swope kind of thing?
Yes. I'll think of it when the show is over. But so we started
of course.
Recruiting other members. Then it just kind of went away, and then I started getting shows. I did Laverne and Shirley, and
with Lynn was Lynn there when you were working on Lynn Stewart? Was she on when you were there?
No.
Did you know?
But David Lander and Michael McKean were on, and I'd known them because they had been in part of a comedy group called the Credibility Gap, and when we went to do like 12 dates in Chicago and Indianapolis, I'd seen their act, and I said, would you guys like to work with us? There's just 2 of us left. So we combined our shows.
Oh, wow.
And I was such a fan. They had such bright material. So I knew them. And then I did...
so how did you segue from doing the Ace Trucking Company now to doing TV? How did that happen? I mean, you were doing that on Johnny Carson, but how did you get to
Well,
sitcom?
people would just call, and people just got to know me. And then I did a pilot for a show, and I'm only jumping ahead a little.
That's okay.
It was called Space Force.
Okay.
And it was pilot. It was a takeoff on Star Trek, or And I did it. The pilot didn't go. I thought I was going to be a sitcom star. And then, so jump forward to about a year ago, Trump's people started with the Space Force. We're going to have a Space Force.
Right.
And then someone from CNN remembered, Googled it, and saw that I'd been in a pilot called Space Force. And they had footage of it, and I didn't think anything of it. And then I got a call from Jimmy Kimmel's people. Would you come on? There was more talk about Space Force. So I came on, and they recreated the outfit, and I did an interview, and this is Fred Willard, and And I pretended I was still pushing yes to do a show called Space Force.
And that's been a running bit for you.
It has been. And then they, every couple of weeks they would call me, they still do, to come on and
wonderful.
Do a sketch. So that's why I mentioned Space Force as a forgotten show. But then...
well, that came back to serve you.
Yeah.
You never know what something can turn into.
But then to flash backward, I got a call from Norman Lear's people. They were doing a show called Fernwood Tonight.
Okay, we have to talk about this because when I met Norman and I said my favorite show of yours is from, and no one ever says, everyone says All in the Family, right? But not for me. For me, it was Fernwood Tonight. So, okay, so he calls you, they call you in.
And they said, we're doing we need someone that's going to be Martin Mull. I thought they wanted me to be the host.
Right.
And I had done a sketch at Second City where I was the host of an amateur night. Mm-hmm. And so I was very easy with that, playing down the people who weren't too talented. And they said, no, Martin Mull is the host. You'd be the Ed McMahon. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I know. I started recommending other people I thought would be better than me. They said, well, no. A couple of people said you'd be perfect. And I said, well, I don't know what I was doing. I said, no, I was doing something else.
Were you resistant because you felt like you were the straight...
No, there was something else I wanted to do. I think I done another pilot for a series, and I thought I was going to be a sitcom star. They said, well, just come in for a week. We're going to do a week of rehearsals. Mm-hmm. And I knew...
Did you know Martin?
I didn't. I'd seen him. He was on the bill at the Troubadour with my friend Robert Klein. So I saw Robert Klein, and Martin Mull, I think, opened or closed.
Had you ever seen Mary Hartman?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because
he had that dual role on there.
Yeah.
Barth and Garth.
But I saw Martin Mull. I said, boy, this guy is sharp. Mm. He didn't attack easy targets. So they said, well, just come in and, we'll do shows. And I laughed so hard for the week. Martin was so funny that at the end of the week I told Norman Lear and his producer, I said, I think I'd like to be on this show. So they said, well, great. So the first show, they had me sitting next to Martin, like Ed McMahon, and then I'd move down to the end, and then the guest would sit next. And after the first show, they said, we want you to stay sitting next to Martin.
It was great.
We had such great chemistry. So it was just supposed to be one season, Fernwood Tonight. But I guess a lot of Norman Lear's celebrity friends loved it. They said, can I be on? Can I be on? But it was set in a town called Fernwood, Ohio. How do we account for the fact that Charlton Heston is in Fernwood, Ohio? So they planned to do a second year at America Tonight in, I forget the town, but it was the stool capital of, the unfinished furniture capital of California. So that opened the door for all the celebrities to come on. They'd been passing through, and it was, we had so much fun the second season. Then Norman left the show, and
I didn't even know that.
They decided not to do a third season because it was making money, but they wanted it wasn't making enough money. And I don't think they realized how popular it was because the numbers, college kids would watch it in a frat house.
I was a college kid.
Yeah.
We never missed. I was saying, in those days you had to be in the chair watching live. There was no VCR, DVR.
Yeah.
We never missed that show ever.
Yeah. So not much came of it.
Well, wait. So do you have any favorite memories from that show?
Oh my God, we had so many funny things. I got to meet my hero, Burt Lancaster.
He was on. God, I don't remember.
He wasn't on. No, there was a news conference. We had a press conference for the second season, and I had to be introducing the celebrities. And I said, so I introduced Burt Lancaster, and he was standing there, and I said, he's the star of this and that and the other. And finally, I stopped and I said, Mr. Lancaster, I'm sorry, I didn't have the time to memorize all the titles you gave me. And he looked at me and he came over and he just grabbed me and lifted me up and put me down. It was a thrill.
Aww.
And then another thing I remember very closely on the show, Charlton Heston was on. Now, a lot of the celebrities wouldn't be there for the rehearsal. So the joke was we'd ask Charlton Heston, or Martin would ask Charlton Heston about his youth and all. And I would interrupt him every time and tell, that reminds me of a story. And each time Charlton Heston would give me kind of a dirty look. And I thought, oh, God, he didn't know I was supposed to do that.
Oh.
And he's going to hate me. So I kept doing funny in the thing. He got up and he stormed off. He said, well, I've been here long enough. And he walked out. And I felt humiliated. So at the end of the show, Norman Lear was there. I said, was Charlton Heston was mad? He said, he loved it. He knew the whole thing was going to... He just loved being made a fool out of. So I didn't realize they'd come on the show. I think Burt Reynolds was on. No, Robert... he had a commercial where he knocked the battery off my shoulder. Robert...
not Robert Stack. Robert Conrad?
Robert Conrad. And I think he took a sleeping pill and he fell asleep on the couch. And we were making fun of me. You could tell he just wanted to exchange insults with. So it was just fun. Yeah,
and that was like was that the first time you played like kind of a dumb, smarmy character?
Yeah. Oh. Just a clueless, very clueless guy. I love being a clueless guy.
Yeah, you were perfect as the clueless guy. Yeah. And you and Martin together. So did they do like a chemistry read before they hired you between?
No,
you and
they just threw me into the boat.
They just threw you in there.
And the only one who had cue cards was Martin. And there was kind of a script, but it was like taking an exam, crash course. And you just remember, sometimes I'd glance at Martin's cue card and see when I was supposed to come in. But the first season, the first few episodes, we kind of stayed to the script. Then I realized that if I would say something. They'd tape about 40 minutes for a 21, 22-minute show. And I said if they didn't like what we did, they would just cut it. And so as the season went on, we improvised more and more. And
did you and Martin have that chemistry right from the
right away. I just loved his comedy. Mm-hmm. I knew I felt secure working with him. I knew you could never top him or throw him. And I might...
you could be at your highest game, and he wouldn't be threatened by it. He could go with it.
And you would think he didn't even know where you're going. I did some joke that had something to do with the old commercial, but, I could have had a V8. And I said, now at the end of this whole thing, I'll say, I could have had a Pepsi. And he was hardly paying any attention. So we did the whole bit. At the end, he came right in with a clue. He knew right where to do it. So it was great fun. So we're still very friendly. We don't socialize too much, but I've always been a big fan of Martin.
Yeah.
And
did you ever work with him again after that?
Yes, we did. He did a show called History of White People in America, and I was on that. We did a movie I think it was called Lots of Luck. We played friends, co-workers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so after Fernwood Tonight, your IMDb is so I can't even scroll that long. So what happened? Where did you go after Fernwood Tonight? What happened for you? I'm gonna have to go to your IMDb because we need your IMDb.
I think one of the first things might have been Laverne and Shirley.
Okay, and was that?
I know. A couple of years after Fernwood Tonight, I know. I did a show called Sorota's Court.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
It was just 12 episodes, and then the producer left, and so it folded. It was very funny, though. I played a very cheap defense attorney. Mm-hmm. It wasn't improvised, but I just had a great time doing it. And then do you stick to the script if they want you to stick to the script? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, a lot of times I've done things since then that say, if you just feel free to improvise, and I feel strange because I've memorized the script and the script seemed fine to me. And I've never gone in and thought, this is awful, let me improvise. Mm-hmm. So then you're under pressure. And if you're not that funny, they say, our script was better than that. But then one day I was at home and the phone rang and I answered it and it says, Fred, this is George Schlatter. I said, oh my God, because I knew him laughing.
Right.
I said, oh, Mr. Schlatter, how are you? He says, I'm doing this show called Real People. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk to these people who are kind of off the beaten path. And he says, and I saw you on Fernwood Tonight where you talked just one-on-one to all these strange people. And he said, you never played down to them? I said, no, you got to talk to them, He said, I'd like you to be on the show. And I said, oh, God, well, great. So we went in, and the first season was just 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I went and I went out to do stories. And then it was a wonderful gig. We come in, I think, Wednesday and rehearse for half a day. Mm-hmm. And then Thursday we'd shoot the show, and that was all we'd done. Nice. And then I just didn't want to do it the next season for some reason. Again, I don't know what I wanted to do. So I left for a couple of seasons. And then there was a story I read about a baseball player who only had one arm. He played 1 year in the major leagues during the war. And I read a story about him. He lived in a small town in Pennsylvania. And I called George Slaughter. I said, George, I'd like to come back and do 1 episode about this guy. His name was Pete Gray. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on in, Fred. Yeah. And so it turned out they contacted the guy, mm-hmm. and he was an old curmudgeon, you know. He said, well, I don't want to be interviewed. And besides, they're doing a movie of the week about me. So I was very disappointed. And George says, why did you come back and do like just a few episodes? So I came back, I did 11 episodes that year. And had a great time. So finally I was on board with it. Mm-hmm. And then it was funny. I wasn't on the inside of the real people, what was going on. Sarah Purcell was, mm-hmm. I loved her. She was wonderful. And mm-hmm. Skip Stevenson mm-hmm. and Bill Rafferty and Byron Allen was mm-hmm. just starting out. And so I had an attorney. I didn't have an agent. She went in to negotiate. So I said, well, I'll do a full season because the money was pretty good. Mm-hmm. So she called. She said, well, here, they want this, they want that. I said, that's fine. You'll do so many cutaways, so many trips. And she said, and he wants you for 3 more seasons.
Wow.
And I said, well, no, I just work a year at a time. Let's just make it just 1 year, and then at the end of the year. She says, well, he wants 3 seasons. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? Make a decision? She says, no, he withdrew his offer. I said, really? She said, that's the quickest I ever saw a negotiation go south. So then I started adding up how much money I would have earned, and it turned out this show only went another season. Mm. Midway through the season, Bill Rafferty called me. He said, have they called you yet? I said, no. They've just fired Skip Stevenson. They fired me. So they hired some other guy. So I found out inside news, George Slaughter hired and fired everybody at one time. Mm. Even he wanted to get rid of Sarah Purcell. NBC said she wants more money, and George says, well, you pay her. I'm not going to. Well, so George Slaughter's the kind of guy you hate, but you love. He's like a big teddy bear. Mm. And now every time he sees me, he'll come up from behind and grab me and squeeze me. So he's a lovely guy. And then he called me, a few years later, they did a reunion show with real people. It was me and Sarah Purcell. We went down to Orlando to do it at Disney World. And I thought, this is a mistake. He should get Skip Stevenson. He should get the whole group. But I didn't want to say anything. Mm-hmm. So he did it, and it didn't go anywhere. But it was fun. We did some very interesting shows. It was George Slaughter who he would put on. This was before they did any those shows like Entertainment Tonight, mm-hmm. and he would show people's audition reel, stars. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was very inventive, mm-hmm. and they took a lot from. And I tell George, you should be suing someone. They took a lot of it. He said, yeah, I know. But he was very inventive, so I still consider him a friend. And I was part of the tribute to George Slaughter. It was a big. It's amazing what he did. I mean, he knew Sinatra. He knew things. He was a bouncer at the old what's now the laugh store. What was the big? The
Comedy Store.
The Comedy Store. What was that originally?
I don't know. I'm a New Yorker.
Laugh Factory?
No, it was the old days. When all the movie stars went there.
Oh.
It's on Sunset.
Not like the Brown Derby or something.
It was like that.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Formosa?
No, it was anyway. Yeah. I'll think of it when the show's over.
Yeah, that's what happens with it. So TV was your thing. How did you segue from TV to movies?
I forget what the first thing I did.
It was before Christopher Guest.
It was before Christopher Guest. I know I got called to do Apple Pie, the third American Wedding.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that was my first. I think the first movie I did was Teenage Mother. It was a little independent film.
Yeah.
One time I was on Jay Leno as a guest, and they found the film and showed scenes from the film. I played a baseball coach. Well, it's funny auditioning for in New York. You go around to audition for movies, and one time there was an ad in one of the show business papers, all types needed. So I went in the guy's office, and he looked at me. He says, "I don't think we have anything for you." I said, "Oh, but you said all types needed." I said, "This is going to be a very tough business."
It sounds like you were always really confident. Were you confident? It sounds like you were confident.
Well, not confident. I don't think I was dedicated, but I didn't have anything to fall back on.
So you had to make it work.
Because most people, I just assumed something would come up.
But the fact that you didn't want to sign a long-term contract, you kind of
knew
you were going to work.
I had my options, and at the time everyone was starring in a movie, and there was.
What was the dream when you started? What was your dream? Was it to be a sitcom star? Was that your dream?
A sitcom or movies or something, and then they did. What's the Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi Blues Brothers and something like that? What was the first thing they did? The college.
Animal House.
Animal House, yeah. And then there was another one that Martin Mull and I were considered for. And then instead they went with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. I didn't find out about that till years later because they were very hot at the time. And then it turned out that they were a lot of problems on the set. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that.
I bet that.
But I became friendly with John Belushi. And the way I became friendly with him, I knew him from Second City. Mm-hmm. And I become friendly with him. And I watched the first year of Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. Mm-hmm. I said, God, this is wonderful. And I was sitting in the Improv one night, and John Belushi walked in. They were just taking their first break. Mm-hmm. And I jumped up. I went over and said, John, I love your show. I said, come on, I got to introduce you around, because nobody knew who he was. I got to tell everyone. And he seemed a little, come on, this is John Belushi. We got to watch the show, Saturday Night Live. So we were at some industry event, and my wife said, Lauren Michaels and the wall sitting on the table. She said, "Go over and say hello to them. You love their show." I said, "I don't want to go over. Go over and say." So I went over and hi, I'm Fred Willard. I love your show. Blah blah blah. A few weeks later, I got a call. Got an offer to host Saturday Night Live. It turns out Muhammad Ali was supposed to host, but something happened. He didn't do it. And I have a feeling it has something to do with John Belushi, because really? I got to the show. Uh-huh. And John didn't show up the first day or two. He was like that. About the third day, no one knew who John Belushi was. One day, or where he was. Right. There was a phone call. I said, John wants to talk to you. I said, oh. I said, hi, John. He was some place in the village where you do one of the Swedish massage places, and then they whip you. He said, I want to make sure they're treating you well there. So I said, I bet he's pushed. You got to get Fred Willard on, because he remembered that. So,
did he show up for rehearsal?
Oh, he finally showed up. Yeah. And he was wonderful, of course.
Was that a great experience doing Saturday Night Live?
It was wonderful, and it was so scary that you weren't scared.
Really?
I mean, you were standing backstage just before we did the rehearsal.
Right.
And, I thought, I should be very nervous here. It's going on across the whole country. But it was you're so nervous, just forget about it. You're playing for this audience. So I went out and did it.
How was your monologue? Did you have a good monologue?
I think I did an Elvis Presley impersonation or something.
I have to go back and find that.
I did some jokes. Uh-huh. And I don't know if it worked or not.
Is it on YouTube?
I'm sure it is.
I have to find that.
I think it was 78 or 79. Mm-hmm. And I did a sketch with Laraine Newman.
I love Laraine.
And I was in the middle of some other sketch. And all of a sudden, someone pulling my sleeve. I looked around, it was Chevy Chase. He wasn't on the show anymore, but he was just screwing around with me. Hey, Fred, how are you? Nice to see you. Oh, Chevy, I'm in the middle of a sketch here.
Oh, he did it in the middle of the show?
Right in the middle of the show. It was live. We're going out live. Mm-hmm. And then I did a sketch that most people remember. It was the Scotch tape store. I owned a store that only sold Scotch tape. And what's her name? God love her, America's sweetheart.
Gilda Radner.
Gilda Radner was my wife. She was long-suffering. And I said, well, you've got to have faith in me. And then John Belushi and someone came in, do you sell videotapes here? No, just Scotch tape. See, I told you. It was people remember that sketch more than anything. It was wonderful. It was at the end of the show, and during the dress rehearsal, we did that and another sketch. And so Lauren and Michael said, now, it's up to you. Which one do you want to do? I said, we got to do the Scotch tape sketch. But all my friends remember that. It was wonderful. It was written by the guy who did Father Guido Sarducci. Whatever his name.
I can't believe I did a short film for Saturday Night Live with him that he directed. Don Novello. Don Novello, he was Don very Novello. Funny. Yeah, and John Belushi played my stock boy. John, go back and get some Scotch tapes. And it was wonderful. I don't want to reenact. How was he? How was he on set? Because he was doing a lot of drugs in those days. How I didn't notice any problems. I mean, everyone was. The only one who there were any problems with, there were no problems. No problems at all. Except, I guess on a Tuesday night they wanted me to. It was one of those all-night sessions, and we're there. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and the phone rang in our rehearsal room. And Bill Murray was over there and picked up the phone. He said, "Don't bother us, we're working," and hung up. So I said, "Geez, and it rang again. Don't bother us, we're working," and hung up. And suddenly I thought, oh God, it's someone calling for me. What? Oh, Fred, it's your wife. My wife said, I said, I'm Fred's wife. God damn it, I want to talk to him. So what's going on? We're writing. She says, well, again, I'm blanking. The star of Rocky Horror Show. Tim Curry. Tim
Curry is working at the Bottom Line. Mm-hmm. And we have tickets to go see him. Let's go. And I said, okay. So I hung up. I said, guys, I'm leaving. I'm going down to see Tim Curry. So I guess that didn't put me in good stead with them, because I've read since, and they love to work till 4 in the morning. But I wanted to go down and see Tim Curry. But anyway, they came up with the sketches, and then we, which sketch do you want to do? And
did things change a lot in the course of the week?
I don't really remember that. It just was zeroed in. There weren't any sketches I did that got cut.
Do you remember who the musical guest was?
Yes, Devo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Devo. They're the first group, and and there was a lot of discussion because the Rolling Stones had been on the show the week before.
Wow.
And there was a whole lot of talk the week I was on about, the Stones want to know, was the sound right, was the sound. And I want to say, hey, let's concentrate on this week's show. Because everyone was enamored that the Rolling Stones had been on. So then Devo came on, and I guess they said, look, we're not going to do this formula where it's just one shot. We want the cameras to go in and out. They were telling the producers how they wanted the show to be taped. So I just loved them. I forget what they did, Beat It or something. And years later, I was at some dinner, and one of the Devo guys was there, and he said, we're doing a show. We'd love it. It'd be so great if you would come out and introduce. But I said I couldn't. It was a conflict. I said, damn, I would have loved to have done it. Because they came up to me right during the show. They said, would you introduce us as the garbage men of the universe? And I said, well, you better talk to Lauren about that, because you say, now our musical guest.
Right.
So I wish now I'd said that, but I said, I don't want to screw up the thing. But it was great. And then they had a party, I remember, at number 1 Fifth Avenue.
I remember that place. Mm-hmm.
And I went down, and everybody was at their own table.
Uh-huh.
And I said, that's very strange. And I said to Gilda Radner, I said, it's nice though that they show you, that everyone was complaining about this, and it's nice though that they have a party for you after the show. She said, they don't have a party for us. We throw our own party.
Huh.
So Gilda said, come on over and sit with us. So we sat with him. And Bill Murray came over and apologized. He said to my wife, your husband here was terrific. I'm sorry about that mix-up. And then Devo came in, and they claimed that no one would serve them. They sat on their chairs in the yoga position. They said they ordered food and they were told the kitchen was closed. I don't know if the owners knew who they were. So it was a very interesting night.
I bet.
But all the actors chipped in. Gilda and Dan Aykroyd and not Chevy, he wasn't with the show anymore, but John, and threw their own after-show party.
I wonder. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think
probably not.
I think they started throwing them parties.
Oh yeah.
As the money started.
This was only about the 4th season of Saturday Night Live.
Wow. So after that, so you're doing Tonight shows. You're doing this. You're doing guest spots on sitcoms. What's happening around that? Here, let's see. I have to go way back. Your IMDb is so long. Oh my God.
Give me a name and I'll remember.
So, all right. Oh, Wizards of Waverly Place just popped up on here, and I know Josh Sussman. All right, wait. Back to You. King of the Hill. These are way late. These, yeah. Look how far I have to scroll to get to the beginning of your career. This is crazy, Fred. You've worked so much.
Was there one called Sister Sister?
I remember Sister Sister. Oh, you were on
Two young girls are still
the Love Boat.
They're still working. The Love Boat. I did a couple of Love Boats. One with Joe Namath.
Did you really?
Yes, we played buddies on the show, and I was, of course, a huge fan. Joe Namath.
Yeah.
And we worked in the morning, and it was ready to go to lunch. There was a knock on my dressing room door, and I opened. It was Joe Namath. He said, "Fred, you want to go to lunch?" And I said, "Sure." And I said, "What the hell am I going to talk to Joe Namath about?" But he was a fan of Fernwood, I guess.
Aww.
And so we walked over, and I didn't know what to say to him. And I asked him, I said, "Joe, do you work out with weights?" That's because he said, "Well, I did, but he says, I went up to jump for a football, and I pulled a muscle in my arm, so he quit it. It tightens you up." And that's the only inside information I remember was from Joe Namath. But it was just great. Oh, then another thing I said, Joe, I thought we were going out on a ship. Because that's what we saw. He says, "I thought so too. I thought we were going on a ship." But it wasn't. I was surprised we did it down at not Fox, Paramount.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I'm sure there have been a lot of celebrities that you've been a fan of that then you find out they're a fan of yours.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. That happened mostly. Well, one from Fernwood Tonight.
Yes.
Then when I did Waiting for Guffman for Christopher Guest.
We got to start talking about that.
Yeah, I'm about to run out of gas here, but I got to get into the
You got to talk about Christopher Guest movies.
I was in Spinal Tap, which he did not direct. Rob Reiner directed that. I knew Rob Reiner because he used me as a pilot for some show he was going to do. Somehow, I think they did All in the Family in the same building where we were doing Fernwood Tonight. So hi Rob, hi Fred. So I did it, and I'd known Harry Shearer and Michael McKean, as I said, from working with Ace Trucking Company, and I was such a fan of their stuff. And so I worked for a day on Spinal Tap. And then I got a call from Christopher Guest. "Fred, I'd like to talk to you. We're doing a movie, and would you come down and talk to me?" And I said, "Sure." So he was in Beverly Hills, and I walked in. He said, "Yeah, we're doing..." And I just seen him on something on Saturday Night Live, and I went on and on about his character. He says, "Well, I'm doing kind of a Corky St. John." He was a very feminine, flighty guy. He says, "Yeah, I'm doing kind of a character like that, and we're doing this movie, and you're the first one I've called. I'd love you to be the guy who was the travel agent. And we're trying to get Catherine O'Hara. She won't commit. But Eugene Levy." And I said, "Well, sure." He said, "Now, there's no script. It's all improvised." So I thought, "Oh, that's great. I don't have to memorize any lines." And I was walking to my car, and I thought, "Oh, that means I got to come up with my own lines." So we did it in Austin, Texas, and we did it, and you never thought that people were going to watch it. We were just having fun. I think I was down there for about 4 weeks. And it took Castle Rock a long time to release it because they didn't know what to make of it either. And then it came out, and it wasn't a big moneymaker, but everyone in the industry saw it.
It was hugely a cult
And
hit.
so then people, it was the important, people in the street. I remember I was in a celebrity softball game, and the announcer said, "Do you have any credits?" "Yes, tell him I'm in Waiting for Guffman." And I walked away, I heard him say, "What the hell is Waiting for Guffman?" I thought, "Well, what'd you ask me for?" So people at this celebrity softball game didn't know who I was, but everyone, I remember I went back for a Saturday Night Live reunion, and Sting, because my wife and I were there, and I said, "God, I don't know if they'll even but we'd be in a separate room, and there's a big crowd. Everyone would ever hosted it. And Sting walked by, and he reached over and said, "Hey, Fred Willard, I love you. I'm a big fan." And my wife was so impressed. It was so, because everyone knew who I was. And then, again, Helen Hunt's series,
Mad About You.
Mad About You. She was a big fan. Mm-hmm. They quoted lines from the show. And I got to do several episodes.
You were great on Mad About You.
On the show. Yeah, thank you. It was great fun. I loved doing it.
I just heard from Leela Kenzel today. She played the best friend.
Oh, sure.
She was fabulous. So she's going to be on this show. I just
messaged
with her today. So I know you're running out of steam, and I want to get to questions before we do. But so of all the Christopher Guest movies that you made, Best in Show.
Best in Show was the best because financially everyone loved it. Then I became labeled as that dog show guy.
But was it for you? Was that the most fun? Because it was the most fun to watch.
It was the second after Waiting for Guffman, mm-hmm. and they cut out so many of everybody's lines in Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
Because he just wanted 85 minutes. And we filmed. I mean, we could have done a 3-hour show. So I was going to be the color guy, mm-hmm. and I said they're going to cut my stuff so. Mm. I would think about it. And I came up with every joke I could think of. I'm going to just bombard them with every joke I could think of. So half of them had been pre-planned, mm-hmm. and the other half just came spontaneously. And they kept in an awful lot of them. In fact, after about the third time I watched the movie, I said they had just enough of me. I was just getting tired of my...
well, I don't think anybody else came close to getting tired of you.
Then after that, a lot of people would ask me to come on and judge a dog show or something. I said, well, it's going to be different because I was playing a clueless character there. And if I come on as Fred Willard... So I did a few... One was one of those personal appearances at a man's house in Phoenix, Arizona.
What?
It was a birthday party.
Yeah.
And he was a big fan of Best in Show, and they paid me a lot of money to come and judge it. They had everyone who came to the party was supposed to have a dog. Uh-huh. They had their pet dog, and the host didn't have a dog, but he had a little wooden dog that he pulled on a string, and it was actually we had to vote who was the best dog, and I had to do the play-by-play, and actually it was the funniest thing, this toy dog, and we gave him the prize money. And I was doing a show someplace else, and how to get from Vegas to Phoenix, and I said, well, we'll hire a plane. And you'd be surprised how much they wanted to hire a little 2-seat plane to fly. I forget how we got there, but we made it in time. But we didn't get Beyonce money, but it was a thrill. And someone once told me, I think my PR guy said, you don't want to do these because the host is going to be excited to see it, and then he's going to start saying, how much am I paying for this? So I try to limit that if someone said flying in to surprise the host, so I didn't want to do that. But the one time I couldn't help but doing that, yeah. So and then one time they wanted me to come out to do the Rose Bowl parade and go by and comment on the Rose Bowl floats. And I said, well, okay. He said, yeah, we want you out here at 5:30 in the morning. And I said, I don't think I want to do that. I'll sit back. I don't think I'd do a good job anyway. So that's the last time I did that.
Well, I'm sure like everybody would like you to come to their party. Yeah. Pete, do we have questions?
Yeah, what's been your favorite TV gig?
Laverne and Shirley. I played a Sharpie who came on. It was probably, I forget one year. I think it was the first season of Laverne and Shirley. I played a really sharp, slick guy. Like, if you remember Steve Cochran from the movies.
Steve Cochran? I don't
know. That black hair, he's a very sleazy guy. Uh-huh. And I came on, I wanted to date Laverne and Shirley, me and my buddy who came in from Arizona. And Shirley hated me because I had a ring I'd keep tapping on the table. And it was very smoothie, and we took Laverne and Shirley for a date. We wanted to go to the bowling alley. Mm-hmm. And it turns out we were two crooks who wanted to dynamite the restroom mm-hmm. into the bank. Mm-hmm. And there was a joke. I said to my cohort, I said one time, we pretended we were romantically attracted to Laverne and Shirley. But I said to my co-mate, I said, it's time to go to the bathroom. And he said, "What? It's time to go to the bathroom." So he went into the bathroom, and suddenly he came out, and there's a big explosion, exploding the door. And David Lander said, "Boy, he really had to go." Well, all week, the producers said, "We can't use that line at that time. No, we've got to come up with something." So every day they come up with a different line. And that's the line they used, though, in the show.
Really?
Boy, he really had to go. But I had a pistol, and I pulled it out. So that was my favorite. I look at that, and I say, God, I wasn't dyeing my hair. My hair was, I can't believe it was that dark. I'm surprised I didn't get calls to do leading man roles. And but that's, every once in a while I get that out and watch it.
How about Roseanne? How was it to work with
Roseanne?
Oh,
Roseanne, that was something. Martin Mull played her boss, and he was gay, supposed to be gay. And Roseanne and her husband at the time, I think
Tom
Arnold. They were big fans of Fernwood. So I met Roseanne at one time, and she said, "I would love to have you on our show." I said, "Oh, I'd love to be on the show." I said, "I have a wonderful idea. Since Martin is your boss, and he was kind of like my boss on Fernwood, why don't I play his boss?" "Oh, yeah, we'll think about that." So I got a call from one of the producers. They said they didn't want to call you direct. They want you to know if you would come on and be Martin's love interest, the gay love interest. I said, that's kind of awkward. This was before this. Today, of course, I'm going to jump at that. But being Martin's. Okay, so they called me about 2 weeks later. We have a further update. They want you two to get married and adopt a child. And I said, I can't resist that. So we were the first.
I can't resist that.
We were the first gay marriage on TV. We beat Friends, I think, by about a week or two.
Really?
Yeah. So we had a gay marriage. It was an unforgettable scene, one of the favorite scenes we were ever in. It was Roseanne's idea of what a tasteful gay wedding should be. If you ever watched, she had Judy Garland impersonators, Liza Minnelli impersonators, and I tried to play my character as straight as I could. I didn't want to be a caricature.
Right.
But Martin and we had to walk down the aisle, dun, 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 and you could hear two people laugh. It was my wife and one of her friends had flown in from Texas. And everyone else in the audience thought this was wonderful. We were very gay falling. But there was a scene where we were supposed to, it was the deaf comic, a double talk comic. We can Google all this when I'm
all right, after the show. The deaf comic. Why can't I think of it?
He wasn't deaf, but everything was he mixed up his phrases.
Oh, Louis
You're close.
It wasn't Louis Nigh? It
No.
was, I know who you're talking. Oh,
Yeah.
Norm Crosby.
Norm Crosby. He was the minister, and he said, "Fred, would you kind of give me a signal when it's my turn to talk, because I can't hear." And in the script, it called for him to say, "I now pronounce you man and wife," and we were supposed to kiss. I said, "What am I going to do? I'm not going to kiss Martin Mull." I went through agonies. I mean, this day, I just, at the last minute, I said, "You don't have to kiss, just kind of go into embrace." I said, "Oh, thank God." And so the line is cut to John Goodman. He says, "Well, they're going at it." And Roseanne said, "They're not going at it. The two men are in love." It was a wonderful episode. And then the one who caught the bouquet turned around and turned to be Milton Berle in drag. It was a star-studded show.
Yeah.
And I followed Milton Berle to his dressing room during rehearsal because I had his book of jokes. I said, "Milton, would you sign my book?" Which he did.
Was he fun?
No, he started to give the director directions. What you want to do when I turn around, you got to do this and do that. And do it. But no one said anything. It was Milton Berle.
Right.
But they cut all that out. He turned around. He's, I caught the flowers. But
and that goes full circle because you ended up on Modern Family, and you're the father of a gay. On Modern Family, aren't you the father of?
Ty Burrell.
Yeah.
No, he's not gay.
Oh, he's not gay, right? No, you're the father of the straight one. Wait.
No, you're thinking of.
Where are you the father of a gay person? What am I thinking of?
Ray Romano. Everybody Loves Raymond. Chris Elliott was my son. He wasn't gay, but he was completely crazy.
He was completely nuts.
We did one scene, we rehearsed where he came out, we did our lines. In front of the night of the show, we're taping, and he comes out, he put on a wig. He's wearing a wig, and he's wearing kids' pajamas. And I could do everything I could do to get through the scene. And when they called the cut, I said, Chris, how dare you come out without telling me? He was so much fun. I was such a fan of his.
So what were some of your favorite sets? Oh, wait, I'm going to stop asking questions. Let's get to, because I feel bad. People out there have
by
questions.
the way, a longtime friend in Ohio, Linda Gardner, said, oh my God, I wrote Fred a fan letter in the 70s, and he wrote me back. Love him.
That's nice. Well, I try to answer. I'm not flooded with fan mail, you know. Where so someone writes me, someone wrote me once a letter, and the guy said, you know, I suffer from depression. This is very sad. And he said, I feel sad even talking about it. Anyway, it was so sad. He said, I had a meltdown in front of my daughter recently, and that's not good. And I said, I can't just send him a photo. I wrote him back. I said, if it makes you feel better, almost everyone in my business suffers from depression. But take care of your daughter because, you know, and I think he wrote me a thank you note back. But it's so touching, and I sent him but usually people write, you know, dear Fred, and then they quote all my favorite show was this and that, and you know they read someplace they have to be sure to include what were your favorite shows. And then, could you send me pictures from me and my brothers and my sisters and my pal? There's 6 photos.
That they're going to sell on eBay, probably, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm a friend of Joanne Worley. I said, what do you do? I sent him one photograph, and that's it.
That's it.
But they sent a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I feel bad. So I signed the pictures.
Was there a comedy icon you would have loved to work with?
Yes. Well, before, when I was growing up, Bob Hope. I just worshipped him. Danny Kaye, I loved. But that was a little bit, I mean, that was before I had no hope of working with them. During my period, I always wanted to be in a Woody Allen movie, and Albert Brooks. Loved Albert. I almost got in his first movie, but I didn't make it.
Yeah. So were there any heartbreaks of things that you really wanted that you didn't get? I don't get the feeling that happened to you.
No,
too
Albert
often.
Brooks. What was his first movie where he played the family that they were all on camera for the whole. It was his first movie about the family. I see I'm blanking on everyone's name, and I went up and met with him, and the actor that got it was. This is awful. I'm forgetting. Google something, or I'll remember these as soon as we're off the air.
Albert Brooks is first. Okay, so so that was the only thing that you didn't get.
Harry Shearer was in it.
Oh yeah.
I didn't care, but I loved Albert Brooks. I still do.
And I'm sure I've seen it. Carl Reiner says that he's the funniest person on the planet.
I don't. I think he's close to that.
Who do you think is the funniest person on the planet?
Funniest. Well, you can't much top. I mean, you got to name the top. There's Albert. There's John Cleese. There's the Eric Idle.
He wrote. It's the first movie he wrote.
Yeah.
Real life. Was
Real
it real
life? No.
No, it wasn't real
life.
life.
It was.
Yeah.
Then who starred in it?
All right. Now you're testing.
Because I got a funny story about that.
Okay, wait. I gotta go see who starred in it. Dick Haynes, Albert Brooks, Matthew Tobin, Mort Lindsay.
No, the real lead.
It's you know what? They're in order.
Oh.
Cast overview, first build. I don't know. I don't know who. James L. Brooks was in it. His brother Cliff was in it.
It's real life, and it's.
I don't know who the real.
The lead. He was the lead, and he's a very well-known actor. I just can't think. He had his own talk show.
You sure it was? Oh, Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin.
Yes.
It was between Charles Grodin and me, and Albert Brooks said, "You know, Fred, I'm considering one other actor. One of you is the better actor, and the other is more something." So he didn't say which is which. And Harry Shearer was in the movie. I think Harry told me that. He said, "Albert said it's between you and Charles Grodin." So a year went by, and the movie was coming out. So I said to Harry Shearer, I said, "I guess I didn't get the part." He said, didn't Albert call you and tell you that? I said, no, I'm just joking. I didn't care. So Charles Grodin was wonderful, but I would have been good too in it.
Yes, you would have.
Yeah.
We got more questions, Pete?
Yeah, somebody just popped up after you said it. It's Charles Grodin.
Yeah.
It's always nice when people.
Yeah, he was wonderful. He's.
Are you friends with him? Have you worked?
No,
with him?
I've never worked with him. I probably have met him, but he's good. He's wonderful.
Anything else, Pete?
Yeah, let's see. Hi, Fred and Vicki. What's one aspect of pop culture would 2019 Fred Willard love to explain to 1980 Fred Willard?
Pop culture?
Yeah, now that you explained to yourself back in 1980.
Well, in 2019, everybody would be on a TV show, and there'd be shows that have been picked up for the third season that you've never heard of. And you ask your friends and say, I don't know what that is. Because when I was 18 years old, there was NBC, CBS, and ABC. And then Fox came along, and, you do a show, and 80 million people saw it. And now, if 2,000 people see it, it's a hit.
Yeah.
So you did you were on Easy to Assemble, Ileana Douglas's.
Yes.
How was that experience? There were a lot of you on that. Amazing cast.
I met her socially. Then she asked me to come out she did it out at IKEA.
Right.
I was always a little puzzled as to what it was. And I was supposed to be the one who created IKEA and have a Swedish accent. I said, boy, how am I going to pull this off? And I walked into IKEA, and the first one I met was the greeter, who was Swedish. He said, yes, you're going to see, yes, we're doing it down. So I listened to him talk for a minute, and I went up and I said, I just talked to the greeter, like at Walmart. So I did it, and I didn't try to make a caricature of it. And I pulled it off pretty well.
You pulled it off really well. I went to the premiere of that party. That was really
fun. And I think I
fun.
met her through another mutual friend, Wayne Fetterman, who's become a friend of mine. I like to hope that he's a friend. And Ileana is a friend. She's very interesting. And I got to go to, again, okay, I thought I was doing great. The guy who hosts
oh, here we go.
the movie night, his grandfather was a huge producer. He introduces the movies on TCM, Turner Classic Movies.
Ileana does that too.
Yes.
I don't remember who it is. Oh!
Give me a name. Big producer back in the 40s. I
know exactly.
Not Hemingway.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Not Mayer. Tony is his name.
No.
Not the grandfather, the son. All right.
Someone who's watching.
All right, wait.
Turner Classic Movies. He's wonderful. He's.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
That's another thing that I wish I'd known. It's scary but helpful. Google.
Right.
I resisted it a long time, but now it's amazing. I'll hear about a song. I'll think, oh, what is that song? You Google. Not only they tell you who wrote it, who's sang it, you can watch it being done.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And then commercials pop up talking about that song. Like, how did you know that?
Yeah.
So, was it Martin Mull grew up in Ohio, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a suburb.
North Ridgeville?
Yes, North Ridgeville.
And then Devo was from Ohio, Akron.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Robert Osborne. That's not who you're talking.
Yeah, it's the same. The one who replaced him.
Yeah, but I'm not finding out who.
I did several shows for Robert Osborne in Athens, Georgia.
Oh, really?
For some reason he took a liking to me, and he had me come on. And once I went down there for a week, he hosted the movies for the first 2 nights. Then he had to leave, and I got to host the last 3 nights.
Nice.
So he was a wonderful man, very nice. Then he took ill and passed away, but he was a very charming man.
How was doing Wally and being a part of something that was such a phenomenon?
Wally, they called me. They said, we're doing this movie called Wally. We'd like you to play the guy who owns all the businesses in the world. He said, we'd like you to come up to our headquarters in Oakland. Like they were trying to sell me on the part. We want to court Fred to do it. I said, oh, my grandson is such a fan of Pixar. Bring your grandson, bring your whole family. So we went up and they told me about the movie. To make a long story short, I went up to film my part. I didn't know anything else. They wouldn't tell me anything about the movie. Then they called me up a week later to do a couple other scenes. Because they said, you can't tell anybody you're doing this movie. And you can't tell anybody the plot until like a week before it opens. So it was a wonderful movie for kids. It subliminally, they love the characters, but subliminally it shows them you got to preserve our planet. And it's just that the green thing was coming in. Everybody got to be green. So it puts it in kids' minds. You don't throw your Coke cans on the street. Did you have some information for me?
Ben Mankiewicz?
Ben Mankiewicz.
He's moderating the Q&A panel for the Shawshank 25th anniversary for the actors.
Oh.
Okay, so Pete was in Shawshank Redemption. Tell Fred.
Yeah, so I've been invited to be on a Q&A panel, but not with Ben, with someone else, I guess. But that's what I'm going to Ohio for next
He's
month.
wonderful because I'm a big fan of silent films.
Yeah.
And then I always wait to hear first his introduction, then his after talk about, this film was done in 1929. The leading man was an alcoholic. He's got all the inside information. It's wonderful. Then Ileana has done it too. So.
Yes, Ileana does it a lot. You have any more questions?
I do, as soon as I get back to them.
So I know one day, did we handle the guy's question who wanted to know, I guess that the answer was...
The one that you thought was asking you out?
No, you thought he was asking me out. I didn't think he was... No.
Let me see. If you could name one moment that blossoms into your thoughts, what stands out among all the rest?
Read the rest of what he said, because it's very nice.
Not discrediting any others, but it is interesting with all that you have done, and we all thank you for, if anything really stands out.
A moment in my life? Or
yes.
Just in...
Yeah, that really stands out.
I think he means professionally, like a moment that was really...
Oh boy, that's...
You had a lot of moments.
Well, I remember I got an award for when they did the comedy awards. I got Best
American
Comedy Awards. That was... They told me ahead of time, we want you to come, we're giving you the award. So just about when they're announcing, I turned to my wife, I said, did I win this or not? And I wanted to get sparkling sprayed in my eyes that look like an old... And then...
and getting nominated for all those Emmys has to be pretty thrilling.
Yeah, that was...
and you won one?
I won one. I won one for daytime Emmy.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. I was there and I said, I'm not going to ever... I did...
The
Bold and the Beautiful.
Wow.
Which I made a mistake the first day I pulled into CBS. I said to the guard, I said, I'm here for Bad and the Beautiful. And I think he thought I was being a wise guy. I guess I was confused with Clint Eastwood. He said, you mean the Bold and the Beautiful? I said, yeah, that's what I mean. I was very nervous, the first day.
Yeah.
But I loved doing that. That
seems out of character for you.
No, when I started out as an actor, I used to watch it when they were done live. In fact, I played an extra on a couple of them when I first started. But I thought it would be such an acting experience to do just like a one-act play every day and then throw it away.
Is it hard to learn all that dialogue and everything?
Well, yes, I worked very hard at it.
Do you have any tricks, like when you have to learn dialogue
just
fast?
go it over and over, and then I have little tricks to connect what someone says. Because the last thing I want to do is blank when you're working with these professional, all these beautiful people on the set, and they're smooth so I did okay, but I would, like for 3 days, go over a scene, and I get there on the set, they'd block it, they'd say, okay, let's shoot it, we'd shoot it once, and they'd say, all right, pick it up from the middle line, we're going to shoot it from another angle, bam, 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 okay, that's it, let's move on. Move on? If you did a sitcom, you'd be there, there'd be an hour doing this scene.
Right.
But it was wonderful. It's like doing a live, almost like a live improv, but you didn't want to improv.
A lot of adrenaline when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was wonderful. I was very flattered to win daytime Emmy.
So that, I don't know if that was the answer to the question. Were there any like performance moments that just? There have to be too many to count. Like, can you name a couple of things?
Well, there was a friend of mine, became a friend, his name was Art Fine, who every year at Elvis's birthday, he would put on a show where people come and sing an Elvis song. And I found out about this, and he was doing it at the Palace Theater on Vine Street or something. And I called him. I said, I would love to I'm doing a play called Elvis and Juliet, where I play an Elvis impersonator. He said, well, we're having professional singers. I said, well, I'd really love to. He he said, let me check with my band leader. So he called me back about 20 minutes later. I talked to my band leader. He says, absolutely, we want Fred Willard. He says, one song. I said, that's plenty for me. He says, no cheeseburger jokes. No. I said, no. I'm going to do this serious. And I'm going to do an early Elvis song. So I did a song, and I was just thrilled to do it. And then he called me back every year. And the third year or fourth year, I did a song called...
and you did it straight?
Definitely straight as I could.
Uh-huh.
I had a scarf wrapped around my neck. I tried to do it as much as... I didn't do an Elvis impersonation, but I sang it. And boy, did I rehearse that at home. I tried to do exactly like the record. And then I heard him do a version of a song called Faded Love, which is an old country western song. But he did an upbeat version. And you could tell why Elvis was a huge star, because even though the original versions were great. So I got 3 women I know who were singers. I wanted them to back me up. The last minute I called a friend of mine, Chris Mostert, who played horns for the Eagles.
Oh, wow.
I said, Chris, would you come with me and play your saxophone? And the band, we went in the afternoon, we rehearsed the song. And I did this song where I sang it 3 or 4 times, and I got down on my knees, and I ended up like a James Brown. I walked off with a towel around my neck, and then I threw the towel off and ran back and grabbed the microphone. I think that was the outstanding of my life.
I love that. Was it filmed?
I don't think it was, and I have photos of it. And I said I would love to see it, but and I did it another year, but I didn't have the girls come and back me up. But that was fun because I was a huge Elvis Presley fan.
All right, one more question, Pete, and then we're going to let Fred go eat.
Yeah.
What was it like hanging with Mama Cass?
Well, I didn't hang with her, but a funny story. When I was with Ace Trucking Company, she was with... I first met her in Toronto, Canada, where I think she was a member of the group called the Mugwumps. And she was kind of heavy set, and there was a fella in our group, George Terry, who was very overweight. We played a lot of that. And we ran into each other on the street. She was there, and we were walking someplace, and she got very attracted to George. And then when she was with the Mamas and the Papas, I guess she called George. And we says, George, and George says, hey, come on. He says, come on, you gotta do one for the group. I don't know whatever happened to her. So we hung out. I remember in Toronto hanging out with her and Doherty. They were with the Mugwumps. And I was with an earlier partner where we did comedy sketches. And they would sing a song. We were at someone's apartment. Then we'd do one of our sketches back and forth. So this is before the Mamas and the Papas. So then I ran into Mama Cass's daughter. And she said, I understand you knew my mom. I said, yes, I did. She said, I'd love to talk to you. And I realized, I said, I don't have any real stories. I never hung out with Mama Cass when she became famous. But I was just pleased. That she was the only, her and Doherty I'd met. But I didn't meet John Phillips or Mackenzie Phillips. But that's my Mama Cass.
Wow. So
I wish I could say I hang out with there was probably marijuana involved, not on my part. I didn't smoke. I was very straight. And
so that was never an issue for you? Substances, alcohol,
no.
None of that?
I remember, who was the band leader for Tonight Show?
Doc Severinsen.
Doc Severinsen. We were in the hallway, and he loved our guy, Billy Saluga. And he gave us all some Coke. And I took some Coke up my nose. And it felt like you feel when you're coming down with the flu. My sinuses, and I said, I don't need this. I'm sure that I'm not doing it right. And I smoked marijuana once at someone's house and I was in San Francisco, drove back to my hotel, and I could tell I was like in a hazy state. I said, I don't take this either. So I do drink, not to excess, but I like alcohol. Drink gin and tonic, but no drugs.
Clean living.
No purpose to it. I just didn't enjoy it. I'm sure if I enjoyed it, I would go full.
Doesn't sound like you have an addictive personality, though.
No.
And you have a really good work ethic. So is there anything that you haven't done that you'd still love to do? Are you done? Do you want to keep working?
I don't really want to do too much. I'm doing things with Jimmy Kimmel. I've done something on a show called I Think You Should Leave.
Wait, what was that other thing on your IMDb that you said that you liked? The thing where you played God.
Oh, Jeffrey Ross did the historical roast. He's unstoppable. He's always, he does the battle roasts. And he called me one Friday, or they called me Friday night. My agent called and they said, Jeffrey Ross is doing a historical roast. He's doing a roast of Anne Frank.
It's just
He would like you to play God. I said, when would this be? He said, Monday. I said, it's Friday night. It's 8 o'clock at night. He said, there's not much money, and he's calling at the last minute. You know how agents are. I said, okay, I don't, tell him thank you, but no thanks. And I hung up, and I felt bad because I'm friendly with Jeff. I'm friends with him. And I said, damn, my agents don't understand. In fact, I had an agent once who got mad at me because I did Waiting for Guffman. Oh. It's an independent film. You're not going to work for scale. That's a whole other hour. So Saturday afternoon, I said, I'm going to hear from Jeff Ross. And sure enough, my phone rang. Fred, it's Jeff. I said, I'm doing this show. How are you? How are you, Jeff? And talk. Listen, Fred, I said, Jeff, I'll do it. He says, you are the best, man. I said, who dropped out? He said, nobody dropped out. We just haven't cast it. So as Gilbert Gottfried played Hitler, John Lovitz played FDR. It was wonderful.
Who was Anne Frank? He's going to quiz me again. I'm going to have to come up with a woman's name. She was a stand-up
comedian, but she did it perfectly. And people say, that's very tasteless. It was, but the whole idea was to make fun of this.
Of course.
They're roasting Anne Frank. And as God, I would play, Jeffrey would say, God, how do you explain that this could happen in our civilization? Well, look, I'm not perfect. I'm very busy. I forget what it was, but he kind of outlined.
Did he give you free? Oh, he outlined.
Kind of outlined what it was going to be, and then there was a show later in the week. I think someone had to play Babe Ruth, and then someone was going to play Elvis Presley. I said, "Who are you going to get to play Babe Ruth?" He says, "We don't know yet." This was 2 days. He did everything, on the run. But he got anyone he wanted. Anyone called someone. You work for Jeff Ross. You're going to say yes. And I love Jeffrey, and I'm just enamored of what his brain, how he can, nothing phases him, and he can just have a comeback in a minute.
Was Gilbert funny as...
Oh, well, of course, very X-rated. Yeah. And, of course, he killed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, God can't be, X-rated.
Oh, of course you shot it in front of a live audience.
Oh,
yeah, of course.
And the interesting thing, he had everyone come dressed from the era, from the 40s.
Wait a minute, how did you dress as God?
Well, they gave me a robe and a beard and a wig. And they brought me out and they sat me on a couch, which is halfway between the audience and the stage. And...
you oversaw things.
Yeah.
Rachel Feinstein?
Yes.
Since I played Anne Frank.
Yes.
Nice.
And she did a very nice job. And I forget, they had someone play Eleanor Roosevelt, who just sat in the audience. They'd cut to her and she'd be laughing at FDR. And it was really done well. I mean...
I have to go watch that.
Oh, yeah, if you can Google it. And
yeah.
I haven't watched the others, but it was really something.
Well, Fred, I think everything you do is really something, and I don't know, but I am very grateful that you are on this planet and that you have spent your life entertaining the hell out of us. And
thanks.
Thank you, and thank you so much for agreeing to this. We're in Fred's lovely home, and he's really hungry. I have a million more questions, but I have to let Fred go eat.
Oh.
Pete, thank you so much. Go see Pete. What's the name of the hotel?
Grand Hotel, downtown Las Vegas.
Next
Vegas,
week.
my friend.
Yeah.
Fred Willard, everybody. We'll see you next week.